3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Audio Visual Podcast, a podcast where you can get in-depth interviews with broadcasters, marketers, streamers, gamers, small and large business owners, and more. The podcast that shows everyone has a creative side, no matter what career field or hobby you do. Hey there, hello there, Kyle Dean here with you, the host of this podcast, the Audio Visual Podcast, and this is episode number 0. That's right, we'll call it number 0 since it's more of an intro episode. It's mostly explaining what the podcast is, learn a little bit more about me, and I think the overall, what I'm going to say right now is that the podcast is going to be very fluid. Yeah, we're going to try to maintain kind of a general theme, but it doesn't mean that we'll go do this or go do that at all when we have, opportunities for interviews or anything of the sort like that. So I think it's going to be pretty fluid. But before we kind of break it all down, let's learn a little bit more about me. I'm Kyle. Hello. Hi. How's everybody doing? Grew up in a small town, North Dakota. I guess you could say that my main passion for the last, 10, 12 years has been broadcasting. I actually used to be in radio broadcasting for about that 10, 12 years from a senior in high school until about a couple of years ago or so. And my main passion for the broadcast side was sports broadcasting. That's right, sports broadcasting. So I did all high school sports for the area, for football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, volleyball, any sport that you can imagine. And it was great learning, I guess, the kids' names and getting to know their parents, the family, since a lot of that sports tradition in small towns, it lasts for a long time. So absolutely love that aspect. I still love that aspect for small town North Dakota, and the power of sports and how the school is like the entire community sometimes for how involved they get. So that's kind of been always my main gig. I worked at a few mom and pop radio stations, some corporate radio stations, and I would say, my range has always been from working at AM classic country stations to mix stations. It's just kind of a little bit of everything. And most of the stuff that I did, was on the news and information stations, and most of them were always AM stations just because of the sports broadcast aspect. But that doesn't mean it was always fun to dabble into many, many, many other things. And plus, getting to know people from each community that I worked at was always a great time. Definitely a great time. I graduated from Minot State University with my Bachelor of Arts in Broadcasting, and then actually I worked at Minot State University recruiting students to the college, and I then decided to get a master's degree. So I have a master's of science in sports management. Yes, sports management, which I absolutely loved it. Enjoyed it 110%. It was hard to go back to school after like a 4-year hiatus, plus having 2 kids. Well, 1 kid, then with 1 on the way. It was a very stressful time, but it was fun, no doubt about that. And I'm very glad that I went back and got my master's. Overall, I guess what we're talking about is that we are just trying new things here. I'm just trying to expand the horizon, and I know podcasting has been around for a long, long, long time, but I have other hobbies that I enjoy. I'm a big gamer, and do not be surprised if we dive in with games every few episodes or not with some of my friends or anything, just because I think that's how we stay together or how we communicate more, just because a lot of my friends and family, we have family. We are family people, and it's hard to get together sometimes. So the power of the internet, the connections, podcasting, you could say, online, Xbox Live, Discord, any of that has really connected us immensely to, still stay in contact with many of our great, great friends. So just kind of keep that in mind, that we'll probably talk a little bit about family, some hobbies, gaming, radio stuff, marketing. It's going to be quite a smorgasbord. Yeah, you could say that, a smorgasbord for that. And why did I start this podcast? I just wanted to try something new. Well, I guess newer to me, similar to what I've done with the radio broadcasting, but still it's something new where it's not per se live. It's more just recorded and more structured in that. And broadcasting has always been a passion for me. And I think this podcasting actually started almost 3 years ago, which was like the start of the COVID pandemic. And that's where I got to bring home like the equipment, and I had already like a mini microphone studio set up, but when I got to bring home all that equipment, that was a blast. And so now I kind of slowly acquired more equipment. Sorry, honey. Yes. Talking to my wife there, that is kind of a hobby that I kind of love, all this audio equipment that I've been gathering. So, I have like a more of a home studio now, and I like tinkering. I like trying to be creative. My creative side can be strong sometimes. It could be not so strong, but I think that's where a lot of the feedback comes in from your friends and family and everything, to really get that creative side going and get that brain thinking. But yeah, so I think that's where it kind of started, was, bringing home all that broadcast equipment from a couple of years ago, 3 years ago now. I can't believe it. During the COVID pandemic, working from home, and 2 kids in the background screaming. I think it just made it real, very real. And that's what I want to make the podcast, is real. So if there's kids that join on, my kiddos, that they join and they start screaming in the background, I think that's what's going to make it this just kind of a little bit more real. Also, I guess the podcast, why is it called audio visual? AV. Yeah. Well, every career choice, to me, it seems to be connected in an audio and visual way. It doesn't always have to relate to technology, and it could entail communication. That could be intrapersonal or intrapersonal communication. And another thing is that I actually want to try to interview streamers, since that seems to be gaining more and more popularity, I think, in the last decade, no doubt, from Twitch and YouTube. And that itself is like a mini broadcast. It entails a lot of audio and visual elements, and it's crazy how much has changed in the last 10 years alone, from going to broadcasting school to maybe going to broadcasting school now, where equipment is more, it's affordable, I would have to say. And it's just crazy how everything has changed in just 10 years. What's 10 years going to be like? No doubt. I remember when podcasting came out, it's like, podcasting, what's that? And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, podcasting. Okay. Yeah. So it's very common. You can get it anywhere, and everything is always digitally connected, but there's an audio aspect, visual aspect, and that's kind of what I want to focus on, that any career choice kind of entails that now. And the one thing I really want to try is get to know people at a down-to-earth level. So I want to make it fun. I want to do, for every interview, some rapid-fire questions. So I'll have like the same 10 questions that are just going to be rapid-fire, and then go boom, boom, boom. You have to answer them. And they're going to be simple, like would you rather, or what's your favorite color, or something like that. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Another thing is, I think we're going to try to throw in some games with the guests that we'll have on air. And some of the games, well, I think I got one main bit I kind of want to do, so you better stay tuned for that. And I think it's just want to chat with them like a human being. I think that's the thing. These people that we're going to interview, they got here or there for a reason where they're at now. And I think, just getting to know them more from all the professional stuff, and more of a, hey, hello, hi, let's be a friend, and see what it becomes. Of course, I love feedback, criticism, anything like that. Some people don't like it. Some people do. Criticism is one of those things I think that help you grow. And feedback, I have an email account. It is audiovisualpod@outlook.com. That is audiovisualpod@outlook.com. And to wrap up this episode, just kind of a quick introductory episode. My goal, one episode a week. Yeah, one episode a week. That's going to be it. We'll see what happens from there or not. But it's one of those things that I think it's just how much time you have. Family's first. My career, that's first. That's a lot of that first. This is a hobby. Podcasting, a hobby, but there's nothing wrong with setting goals like you do at a job or anything of the sort like that. So that's just some of the things that I really want to start focusing on. And you never know what this might become. And of course, I think from time to time, we'll have some special episodes to some specific topics with maybe some a recurring guest, maybe some, I think one of my buddies and I, we're going to kind of chit chat about video games every few times. So if you don't like video games, I know, skip that episode, but you never know what you might find where your son, grandson, granddaughter, anything might looking for that next big video game or anything like that. It might be good to tune in. Movies, I love movies. I'm a movie buff. Anything of the sort like that. And what other topics we can find or of the sort. One thing I really want to do too is focus on, I guess not focus on just all North Dakota people. Yes, I'm from North Dakota, but I really want to expand my horizon to nationwide, worldwide. I think that's another goal that I have for this. And, you got to start small and nothing's wrong with that. I just want to have fun. And I think that's what I want you to have too during this journey with me, is to have fun too. And really just have a great time when you're listening to these audio-visual podcasts, but more audio right now. And that is another goal. Why not get a camera and try to get this more of a video style too? I think that's just a step-by-step process for all of that. Other than that, that's going to be the breakdown and the idea of what the audio-visual podcast is. And I think it's going to be fun. And thank you for tuning in. Of course, you can always email me, audiovisualpod@outlook.com. That's AUDIOVISUALPOD@outlook.com. Yes, thank you very much. Kyle Dean here with you. And you guys and gals have a great rest of your podcasting.